Hey guys, today we'll be looking at LeetCode problem number 344. This problem is called reverse string. First, we'll take a look at what the problem statement actually says, then we'll take a look at how to solve this problem, and then we'll take a look at what the code looks like. There's both an iterative approach to this as well as a recursive approach. I'm going to take a look at both of these and try to explain what the differences are between both and how to implement them both. So let's take a look at the problem statement. Problem statement says that you're supposed to write a function that takes in a char array and reverses the characters in it. And you cannot do this by allocating extra space. You have to do this in place. And you can assume that the characters consist of printable ASCII characters. So the example that they're giving you here is the word hello, and you basically have to go through and print out the word hello backwards. It's important that we take a look at what this statement is basically saying here. It's saying that we cannot allocate additional space. What does that mean? That means that we can't create an extra array or a new array within our code and copy this stuff over into it backwards, right? They want us to do this in place. And in place basically means that you take the original array that they gave you and you modify that rather than creating a new data structure or array and filling that up with whatever data that you're wanting to. So let's take a look at how we would do that in place. So given the input, hello, and given the output, right, the first thing you kind of noticed here is the location of H and the location of O, right? Where H used to be, there's an O, and where O used to be, there's an H. So essentially what's happened to this is that they swapped places, right? And that's the same thing that kind of happened to where E used to be and where L used to be, right? Until we get to the middle point, that's L. And we'll take a look at why that is exactly. But the first thing you want to notice is that these letters are basically swapped. And we're going to go through and figure out a way to actually swap them. So now, if we have, say, a start pointer and an end pointer, we write down the word hello, and we move the start pointer to the right, and we move the left pointer to the left, and then we kind of swap as they go along. So whatever value this is at a particular time, whatever value this is, we're just going to swap them. So let's walk through what it kind of looks like. So S here is equal to 0, E here is equal to 4. So what we're basically going to do is swap 0 and 4, right? So now this goes here, and this goes here. So now we have O, H. And the next thing we want to do here, S is equal to 1, E is equal to 3, and now we're going to do swap 1, 3. And then the next swap that's going to happen is that S is going to be equal to 2, and E will be equal to 2 right here. And we're going to try to swap this, but it's already the same letter, so it doesn't really do anything. Sorry, it's L, right? But notice if our end criteria was start equals to end, where we're waiting for our loop to kind of finish when we get to this midpoint, there's a slight problem with this. Because what if you have hello, but there's no L, right? So our start pointer here is 0, E is equal to 3, so then we swap, and then it's equal to 1, and then this is equal to 2. And now the next place that E moves to and the next place that start moves to is this. They're never going to be equal to each other here. In fact, if your criteria was that start and equals to end and that's when you finish, your function or your while loop will continue forever. What you want to aim for is that your start will always be less than your end as you move your start to the right and as you move your end to the left. And we can actually walk through that with an example of name. So here, our start is equal to 0, and our end is equal to 3. And we're doing this while start is less than end. This is our criteria for stopping. So then here and here, when start is equal to 1 and end is equal to 2, we have basically, we're going to write down the swap function really quickly, 0, 3. That was for the one before, right here and right here. And now the swap function that we're going to be writing down is 1 and 2. So now what we notice is going to happen next as end moves to the left and start moves to the right. Start will now be equal to 2 and end will now be equal to 1. And that goes against what our while loop was. So now we end. So that's basically what the implementation kind of looks like. Let's take a look at what the code looks like for this. Okay, so let's take a look at what the iterative solution kind of looks like in code. So we already have here the method signature given to us called reverse string. So let's go ahead and first initialize what our start pointer and end pointer kind of look like. So we're going to call it int start. And we're going to set the start pointer equal to 0. That's the first index that we have, right? And then we're going to set our end pointer equal to s.length minus 1. So we can get the last thing within the array. So now the thing that we talked about was what a while loop kind of looks like, what our statement looks like. We said that at all times our start has to be less than what our end is. So we're going to put that in here, right? So what are we going to be doing in there? In the idea we talked about was to basically call a swap function. We're just going to write up what the swap function kind of looks like here. So what I'm going to do is save the current value at whatever the start pointer is, right? And then what we'll do after that is we'll take that spot and we'll give it and swap it with whatever is pointing at the end one. And then the only thing left to do now is basically put the temp thing that we stored at where the end position is. And now at the end of this, we're just moving our start pointer forward to the right. And we're going to be moving our end pointer to the left. So we're decrementing that. That's basically what the code looks like. We've already done a walkthrough of this, but let's just quickly look at what each one of these things does. So here, if we have the word hello inside of an array, our initial thing that we did was make this start and make this end, right? This is what this step and this step does. Then we go through our while loop and we're saving here temp, whatever the value is at the start. So here the value is h, and we're saying that the actual array index here, which is start, we're going to take whatever is here at the end and swap it. So now O is where H used to be. And so this is also O technically right now, but what we do in this step we're going to take the temp and put that here. So now take that, and temp here is H. So now you can see if we just keep doing this as we're moving start to the right and as we're moving end to the left, we're going to continue swapping these values like we just did until our start is no longer less than our end. And that's basically what our iterative solution kind of looks like. What's the runtime of this is a good thing to look at as well. So we're basically walking through the entire array, and the entire array, assuming is n, we're looking at a runtime of O of n. And our space, we're not really using any space, so it's constant. That's about it. So we're going to be going over what the recursive solution looks like here. And you'll notice that I've got the method header as well as the start and end already initialized. What we're going to be doing is calling another function that we'll call reverse string helper, and that will be the actual method that's going to be recursing. So right here, I'm going to put reverse string helper, and it's going to be taking in the char array as well as start and end. So then let's go ahead and actually create the method. So public void, we're not returning anything. Reverse string helper. So that's actually going to be taking in char array s and int start and int end. Right? So what we do inside of this is actually going to be very similar to what our previous iterative solution kind of looked like. The first thing we want to write down is our base case. So our base case here is going to say start is greater than or equal to end. We're just going to return. Now, before in the iterative solution, we were checking to make sure that our start is always less than or end. Here, we want to discontinue and stop our method from running when start is greater than end. So then the rest of the actual method looks very similar to what our iterative solution kind of looks like. So we're saving temp again from start. And start. This is the same code from the iterative solution. The only difference that we're going to get to here now is that instead of going back into the while loop and looping over again, we're going to be recursing, so we need to call reverse string helper again. And we're going to be passing in the char array, but we'll be incrementing like we did in the while loop start, as well as decrementing what our endpointer kind of looks like. And that's basically it. It'll just keep recursing until we get to this base case right here where start is greater than or equal to end, and we'll get whatever we needed to get in terms of the reverse string in place. The runtime looks very similar to what the iterative runtime looks like, so I'm not going to go over that again. That's about it. Hope you enjoyed the problem.